Welcome, guys, to Body Confident Masterclass with LuLu Thompson.
Thanks for having me.
Us.
Very, very happy to be here and always happy to chat about this topic, very close to my heart.
Yeah, so if anyone's going to watch it live, guys, feel free to ask questions. I'll be checking if we've got any questions. And even if you watch reply and you want to ask question, please pop them in comments and then I can always pass it on LuLu. So let's get started. So LuLu, first, if you want to say a little bit about yourself, what do you do and why do you love talking about the subject?
So my background is in social work. So I'm a clinical social worker. I've been working in mental health for nearly 10 years. I'm a registered therapist now as of last year, which is very exciting. And then obviously I work in the fitness world as well as a PT. At the moment, I do mostly online coaching around nutrition, mindset sort of stuff. And then I do my one-on-one counseling therapy biz as well, which keeps me busy enough. And so I guess I've probably been interested in it like since I finished my uni nearly 10 years ago. But about 5 years ago, I was lucky enough to do some work with Butterfly Foundation, and I was working in PT at the same time. And I think that's probably where it started for me to really, I think, understand some of the mindset challenges that our clients are having around food and body image, because I was sort of seeing clients in the gym, and then I was having very similar conversations with clients as a therapist, but knowing that, what they were telling me from one side and what they were telling me from the other side wasn't necessarily the same thing, but they were having all these really quite deep struggles with body image and eating and stuff that I think us as trainers have such an opportunity to help people. We're that first port where people often go to start to work on these things. And we have such a good opportunity to help people to develop healthy coping strategies and healthy body image. And, I think being able to educate and provide information as well as just talking about it in general helps us as a society to be able to kind of move some of those markers and move things forward about the way that we all in general feel about our bodies.
Yes, definitely. Oh, definitely. We need to talk about it much more. So let's start. So what is body image?
So I think body image in itself is actually quite complex. Like, I think people can probably think of it as a bit of a one-dimensional thing, as in, what you see in the mirror.
Yeah.
But when we think about body image and the way that we work with body image, it's kind of has quite a few different multi-factors into it. So you've got obviously your weight, your body weight, you've got your body satisfaction, so how you feel about your body weight, you've got your body attribution, which is how much energy and effort you attribute to the importance of these sort of things. We've got our self-esteem or our body esteem, which is sort of the way that we feel our body is important to us in the scope of our whole daily life. And then it's sort of, I guess, compounded within our society and the environment that we live and that we work in as well. It's quite, it's quite a lot of elements to it, really.
Yeah, and it's impacted by lots of things. It's not just like so simple. And what perpetuates negative body image?
Well, I think that you would certainly know as a trainer the conversations we're having with our clients on the day-to-day basis. There's so many things that impact on the negative and just not as much or not enough that impacts on the positive. So, I guess the stuff that we notice or that we see shows up pretty often is our social media. Obviously, that one's very obvious, but still something that most of us will struggle to put in healthy boundaries around. So we know that social media marketing is all quite negative and quite dangerous to the way that we see ourselves. But quite often we still get quite stuck in it and quite trapped in sort of down that spiral with that negative sort of stuff. So then we've got our friends and our family. You know, what is the environment that we're living in? What is the environment, the conversations that we're having around us? Then we might have like our community. So this might be your fitness community, or it might be, you know, school or friends or church or whatever sort of, you know, outside community that you're involved in. You know, what is the conversations that people are having about fitness or their bodies around there. And then, you know, I guess just general stuff that we would think about from our childhood, which is, you know, some of those messaging that we might have received as a kid about the importance of what you know, what it is to have a healthy body image or healthy body, all that sort of stuff. And that then perpetuates into the way that we show up now in our, you know, as adults.
Yeah, very often, like when I talk to my clients, their body image comes from the conditioning from the mom's body image. Very often, if the mom was on a diet, and it wasn't that, you know, the moms were talking even bad about themselves, but they were always always on a diet, trying to look small. So that, which is really interesting.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be explicit in terms of things that people have said. It's, you know, as kids, we pick up and we observe things that are happening around us. So like, as you said, mum could always be on a diet, or, you know, dad could be the one who always picks on fat people, makes them as the brunt of the jokes, or sort of things, you know, or in a family where sports are really valued, and, you know, people, fitness and health is really something that the family really put a lot of emphasis on. If you're not the sporty kid, or the sort of kid who wants to stay in, you know, how does that impact on you? How does that make you feel about, you know, that value within your life, and how does that show up?
Mm. And how we can help ourselves if we have a fat day, if we just feel blah.
Yeah, look, I think as females, that one's pretty common.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think the fat day feeling is something that we quite often kind of get stuck in, that sort of that trigger for that really negative mindset sort of stuff. So it's always, I think, a good place to stop, have a think about what is actually going on for you. You know, are you feeling fat because of external things? So first of all, obviously fat's not a feeling. Fat is something that we somatically can feel in our body, but it's not an emotion or a feeling. So it's a good place to start to unpack it and have a think about, okay, what is the actual feeling I'm feeling? Like, am I feeling depressed? Am I feeling, you know, unworthy, unlovable? Am I feeling frumpy? Am I feeling bored or lonely? You know, there's something that's sort of underlying those negative feelings, and we are then often contributing that to our body. So we're very good at blaming our body for a lot of things that happen that might not necessarily be its fault. So, you know, it's quite easy to be like, oh, I feel fat, and that's why I'm having a shit day, and that's why my job's gone to shit, and that's why my relationship's shit. All those sort of things, which we, in terms of trying to improve our body image, we want to start to kind of pull that apart, unpack that a little bit, see what is actually going on underneath, and work on changing our feelings about those other things that are upsetting us. So, you know, if it is the relationship, what are some of the things that we can do to improve our relationship? If it's work that's making us feel this way, you know, what are some of the other things? And when we are, you know, feeling that way, it's even more important for us to not be super self-critical.
Mm.
And that's the important times when it's really important to have, like, you know, positive respect for our body and positive regard, and do that positive self-talk and positive affirmations, all the things where you know, we do really often quite beat ourselves up and talk down to ourselves, you know, and that spiral is pretty easy for all of us to fall into. So being able to recognize when we can stop that spiral and change it up with some different thoughts or different behaviors.
And I think often it's like a kind of like a trigger. There's always, or not always, but often one situation when we are like, oh, I just feel fat. It's just because I feel fat.
Yeah, and it could be just like one little thing,
Yeah.
but from that one thing, you know, you've ruined your day, your week, your month, because it just becomes this big internal, you know, toxic spiral, which for all of us, it's very familiar. You know, it's very easy to just kind of go down that road and this means this and this means this and this means this, and you end up in that very quite deep sort of shame spiral where you really feel quite awful about yourself. So, you know, I think it's important to be able to catch when that starts, you know, that trigger starts, and what we can do to sort of stop it and not let that trigger or that sort of spiral sort of overwhelm us.
And what we can do when we look in the mirror and we don't like what we see, we feel awful about what we see in the mirror.
Yeah, and you know, I think this one's pretty common, unfortunately, for most women. You know, 80% of women say that they are unhappy with what they see. I think that's a massive statistic, and it's pretty disappointing. I think that our society has conditioned us so much that we all, you know, are hating on our bodies so much, and we need to feel like we always have to change them and do something else to be this perfect image that we don't necessarily all fit into this mold. You know, that perfect image of the size 0 is something that we're not all designed to be. So, you know, I think when we have those days where we do look in the mirror, it's, you know, that comparison trap or feeling pretty shitty about what we're seeing. It's a really important day to have that self-care. And, you know, I think we want to try and move away from that fluffy self-love and work towards a self-acceptance, which is really just about kindness and body respect and body neutrality. So it's about being in a place where you can look at your feelings from apart and say, you know, I recognize that, you know, this is what I'm feeling, but I'm choosing to not invest all my energy into this. I'm choosing to put my energy into something which is just going to make me feel okay, going to make me feel better in terms of, you know, getting my hair done or going for a nice walk or going and spending time with friends. So stuff that fills our cup up, rather than our normal response in this situation would be to go into that mindset of either like chronic dieting or the fuck it mentality where you know, you're just kind of eating everything in the house because it's all too hard. And so that extreme is pretty common, and we want to be able to notice when that does happen, pull it back in, and really work with our mindset, and most importantly to into that kind of body respect, body acceptance sort of place.
Yeah, and I think that one very hard thing for women is it's the mindset. They think that it's just easy, you know, just do the exercise or eat the right way. But it's always comes to mindset. You can change your body, but if you don't do fitness work in here, nothing is going to change. Your body image is not going to change, even if you lose weight, because as women we change, our body changes. We need to accept that we're going to get wrinkles, we get older, and our body shape is going to change it for different phases of life. So if we want work on our fitness in here, our body image won't change at all.
Yeah, exactly. And I think as trainers, we can help people by showing them that you can come and work with us on the fitness side, but you can also do some of the mental health stuff, which is going to really actually help you actually progress. And when you get the results that you want, you'll be satisfied with them rather than feeling like there's always something more, you know, and that you're never going to get the goals that you actually genuinely want.
Awesome. And how we can help our kids and our close one, our friends, to be more positive when it comes to body image?
Well, it's just like we were talking about at the start with, you know, what we internalize now as adults are whatever we've observed or heard or seen in the relationships that we have had with our primary caregivers, our parents, or the important people in our life. And so, you know, we shouldn't be asking ourselves as parents for perfection, and you know, never speaking unkindly about ourselves or never making some of these comments. You know, these things will always happen. But when we start to be a bit more aware of what we are perhaps what some of our ideals or what some of our values around our body, others' bodies, the way that sort of shows up in you know, our environment, is when we can sort of help to help our kids see things differently as well. I think some of the things, particularly around language, you know, that's becoming a bit more prevalent, and people are more aware that, when we always comment on kids' appearance, you're a very pretty girl, you're very beautiful, all those sort of things, that's keep propensity, that model, that your appearance or your value in life is what you look like. So I think just some of those things, the way that we talk about that stuff with our friends, but also our kids, having that in mind, and ways that we can change that narrative. So it doesn't have to be that, what you're eating and what you're looking like are that super duper important things in your life. They're something that are in your life, but they don't have to be such a big value.
Yeah. So my little one she's almost 3, but just after I think she turned 2, she started putting dresses on, looking in the mirror. I said, I'm beautiful. And I'm like, where did that come from? That didn't come from this house. And I'm straight away, yes, you're beautiful, but you're also smart, you're clever, you're strong, you're brave. And now sometimes when we go for a walk, she will just say, Mommy, I'm brave, I'm strong. And I'm like, yes, you are.
And that's it, like they'll still pick stuff up, like as much as we want to try and help them, they're still going to pick all this stuff up from outside influences and from media and from marketing. So we can't expect that it's not going to come up. So I think just having honest conversations and be really, as they get to that appropriate age, being really upfront with them and saying, as a little girl, what do you think is important about your friends? What do you love about your friends that make them really special, make them really valuable?
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome. Like another example with my son, though, he starts talking about people like being fat and kind of associate being fat also. Like you could tell that it's kind of like being fat is negative. It's like, we don't talk about fat in our house. So, but I'm straight away like, yeah, so they fat, so what? I'm like, people come in different shapes and sizes. Some people going to be fat, some people going to be short, some people going to be skinny. It's totally fine. That doesn't mean that they not nice, not kind, that they're not good person.
Yeah.
But it's interesting what they pick up in outside world, even though we're trying so hard not to say it inside.
And I think, as particularly now this generation, that like the big like the teasing is about fat, like that's the worst insult. And probably when you and I were growing up, it was not as much that, it was something else. But then I think that's just a reflection of the culture that we live in, which is so value heavy, that if you're fat, you're saying, that you're not valuable, you're not popular or worthy, all those sort of things. And schools obviously will have a role in that. And I think it's always important to have those conversations with the kids as well. Like, what does that mean? Like, why would you call someone fat? Why is that a negative thing? All that sort of stuff.
Awesome. And what if you've got for instance, if you've got a friend and you know that they have like very negative body image, how you could help them?
Yeah. So look, if you've got a friend and they're very in that kind of self-critical mindset, I guess it sort of depends how close you are and if you feel comfortable having an open and honest conversation with them, or just directing them perhaps to where they might be able to get some more support or resources. At the end of the day, if they are having that very negative body image, then they're probably negative in a general headspace. So it can be just a matter of, hey, maybe do you want to go chat with a counselor, or it might be worth having a chat with someone else to get a bit more support at the moment. But if you are a friend and that's something that's coming up pretty often, I think it's important to have healthy boundaries in place, like in your social circles. Like, hey, I just wanted to let you know, I'm working super hard with my kids to promote this healthy body image. So can we try and not spend 50% of the conversation kind of ripping into each other about our thighs or whatever. I think that we can quite often get into that habit where we can pick apart and we can have that shared experience. So having that conversation about, I don't find it that helpful, I don't find it that useful, I really want to find out what's going on with you in your life. But just kind of sitting in the self-criticism, in that kind of shame spiral, it's not really that useful for us as friends.
Yeah, that's awesome. Group tips. And we spoke about social media a little bit before, but what impact social media has got on body image at the moment?
Yeah, so yeah, look, we all know that it's something that will create that negative mindset, and so the research shows it's only 2 minutes of social media that would put negative body image thoughts into your heads. It's prevalent. It's all around us. We are exposed to so much imagery that it's all very subconscious now. We don't even necessarily realize it. I think I would hope that lots of your audience would initially have that thought about the unculling and the unfollowing. If you're seeing stuff that makes you feel triggered, makes you feel negative, gives you sort of any of that somatic responses, the tingling or the gut, the pit in your gut where you just something doesn't feel right, that's an opportunity to unfollow people. That doesn't help you, and it doesn't provide any health. So I want to call, sorry. Sorry, one tick.
Life goals.
Life calls, of course. So where was I? Can you remind me? Social media.
Yeah, talking about social media.
So unculling, unfollowing, obviously, but also thinking about refilling your feed with stuff that gives you a broad perspective, lets you see some more diverse body shapes, diverse body images, diverse imagery, really trying to get away from that very quite one-sided fitspo sort of thing. Which might be following sports teams, it might be following people like gymnasts or Olympic medalists, it might be just following like some nature or some trees, just really trying to get a bit more of a diverse body image, I think is super important.
Yeah, and there's also lots of accounts now actually promoting positive body image when you can see different body shapes and different sizes. So you don't have to just follow the fit spa or the fit mommy.
Yeah, and when you feel like you're seeing the same thing over and over, it's probably because you are. I think having that diversity makes you feel like, okay, well, I'm not just always comparing myself to this one thing.
Yeah, and comparison, it is really a killer of joy. So we have to make sure that we do not even follow someone. Don't compare yourself to someone else. The body shape is different. The history of exercise can be different. The history of diet can be different. So we shouldn't compare ourselves to people, because that's often when we start feeling shit about ourselves.
And the saying goes, like, if everyone did the same diet and the same workouts, we would still all look different.
Yeah.
We're not all supposed to look the same. That's it.
Yeah, I think this is really important to understand. We're not supposed to look the same. It would be boring if we look the same.
Yeah.
So curate your environment the same as you curate your kitchen. If you do not want to eat those ice cream, curate your environment with social media.
Yeah.
So where are some good places to start working on body positive body image? Positive body image.
I do think, certainly your Instagram, you can find some good resources. Just the hashtag sort of, your body positivity, those sort of ones can often give you something, a good broad range. I guess things like women's strength and women's health, we want to try and, I guess, move away from the specific Fitspo sort of stuff. There's definitely a few like resources out there. I think Girls Gone Strong have got some really, really good resources if you want to get more information specific to like general health and fitness. There's some books out there if people are interested to read some more. Non-diet sort of area is a good place as well to sort of have a look in the body image and the dieting sort of stuff. That's probably all I can think of off the top of my head, but that's probably a good place to at least start, I think.
And some general practices.
Yeah, so day-to-day sort of stuff. So we talked on the social media stuff, obviously. So another couple of ones that you might want to have a go at is some stuff around journaling. I'm just going to have water.
So
So do you ever do any journaling yourself? Have you ever had a go at it?
I do, not necessarily regarding body image, but obviously, you know, business, money blogs, and imposter syndrome, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And all would, you know, I think people think it's like a Dear Diary sort of
Yeah.
thing, and it feels very fake and forced. But all we're doing is trying to get our thoughts out of our head onto paper so that we can see them with a bit more of a realistic view. We can also give perhaps a little bit more of a solution to our thoughts that can often ruminate and cycle. And so it's really just a process of getting things out of our head and onto a piece of paper. It doesn't have to be any sort of form. It doesn't have to be any sort of like particular way. But you can also then use some prompts, which can be really helpful as well to start to reflect on our thoughts. So like we were talking about with the subconscious thoughts, quite often we don't necessarily realize what are some of the thoughts that are pushing us. So some of the ones I put into that little worksheet that I've given you is this is very much about kind of gratitude and balanced thoughts, balanced thinking patterns. So my favorite body part is one part of me that I like is I'm grateful for my body for. My body helps me too. And then you can just write, you know, free writing, obviously, whatever comes to your mind, and try and work through that quite regularly and weekly, and you know, just sort of see what themes are coming up for you.
Yeah, so we've got Lulu gave me a handout, which I'm going to pop in comment as well. And there are some journaling prompts as well. I'm just checking if we've got any questions, but we don't have any questions at the moment. So, is there anything you would like to add into already what we spoke about?
I think, you know, I think as females, as people who are interested in fitness and interested in health, we have to be willing to work on our mindset alongside our physical health. And I think really that is the key to the change that we want to see, that transformation, that getting us to that happy place, that in the same way that you make the commitment that says, I'm going to go work out 3 times a week, you also make the commitment that I'm going to invest time in building some healthier mindset strategies. There's tons out there, but you just need to find what works for you. At the end of the day, all the different ones that find that they stick with you, that they're easy enough to do, they're implementable, they're things that you feel like you can do consistently and regularly. You know, I think these are the things that we perhaps miss or are happy to let it slide for a little bit, which unfortunately are going to give us more bang for our buck than the 30 minutes that we're spending doing our exercise. But going hand in hand is the most beautiful combination ever.
Yes, definitely. And you need to understand body image is not a body image, and body confidence is not about the way we look. You can lose weight, but if you're not happy, if you don't have a positive body image, you will always trying to look for that another perfection, another version of yourself. Especially that the body image and what's perfect changes with trends.
100%. Yeah. You know, we need to approach it from that positive place to be able to really, you know, I think fall in love with our body rather than chasing it from that shame, like you were saying.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for the chat today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so appreciative.
Pleasure. And if the girls want more support, they would like to learn more about you, where they can find you.
Yeah, hit me on Instagram is probably the best. So Mind Body Mojo is my Instagram. I do obviously the one-on-ones if people are interested in looking for some more sort of support, and then some of that group coaching. I'll be having a next launch in March, which is a body confidence and mindset sort of a 6-week program. So if people are interested in that, follow me there or just hit me up on Facebook. If anyone's ever interested in resources or chats, I'm always available.
Awesome. Thank you so much for this, Lulu. It was great chatting to you about this.
Thank you so much. Have a wonderful rest of your day. We'll talk soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, bye, bye.